Hi, my name is Róża. This is my channel Możliwe. Today my guest is Diana Koziarska, a partner in Smok Ventures. Hello, Diana.
Hi.
Diana, you study physics. How helpful was in your career path?
Well, I would say the physics, it sculpted my mind, how it works, how it analyzes the world, how I like, how I see what's around me. So, I don't really use like the physics knowledge and, in my work, but I would say it changed how I think.
Mhm. You started your startup by partnering with Reactor X. How all begin?
Okay, so yeah, so I didn't really started a startup. I have to say that I created acceleration program. So yeah, so I studied physics, and then I thought I don't really want to do that. Like I don't really want to sit in the lab. I don't think it's for me. And I was thinking, what can I do with my life? And I got like one quick job in financial audit, but also I didn't think it was for me. It was a bit boring for me. And then I joined Reactor War. So a friend recommended to me that there is a job, like they are looking for an office event manager at Reactor War. So you'll be working with startups, and I didn't know what startups were actually, but it sounded interesting. So I thought, okay, let's see what happens. It it was also, they also had like manager in the title. So I was like, okay, I was managing a student organization before. I was uh, editor-in-chief in small student organization. So I thought, okay, I might be good at that. So I went there, and when I joined the startup community, I was so in love with that. I was so involved because I met so many amazing people. They were thinking of that big ideas. They wanted to change the world. I was so involved like from the start. And then after a few months, because when I joined Reactor was like a startup hub. We had co-working space. We were organizing open reactor events for the startup community, and we had this reactor mafia, so a network of already experienced entrepreneurs who were helping the less experienced ones.
Mhm.
So I joined. I was managing that for a while, and after half a year, Boris, one of the co-founders of Reactor, he trusted me and see that I like what I'm doing and it works. So he said, "Okay, Diana, how about you being the CEO of Reactor?" And 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 he gave me the steering wheel of that. Well, I was CEO of 1.5 person company, but still it was sorry, it was kind of like known a bit brand in the ecosystem already, and we had the basics on what we wanted to develop Reactor forward. So Boris and I, we co-founded Reactor X, and Reactor X is pre-acceleration program because we saw that there are a lot of opportunities for well-developed startups, for experienced founders who had already built something. But what we saw that no one is helping the starting founders. You have the idea, you have the knowledge of your industry, what is needed in that industry, and no one was really helping those starting founders. There was like one pre-acceleration program beside us because it was some time ago. So we created Reactor X, focusing on that early stage. It was a company, it was a program, but it was also a mission. At least for me, I think I was much more idealistic a
Mhm.
few years ago. And yeah, but I was strongly driven by that mission to help those starting people to enter the ecosystem, to start building their companies. And we had this Reactor Mafia network, so we built on that because I just manage the staff, manage the acceleration program, but all the work is the founders, the starting founders. It was like founders for founders, and people helping each other. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's how I created acceleration program Reactor X. And after a few years of working on that, we saw that there's an opportunity to start a fund in Poland because, well, funds in Poland have different opinions. I think it's evolving. It's evolving really good. It's going in a good direction. But a few years back, many funds had like mixed opinions. So we saw, okay, people trust us, and there are a lot of founders coming through Reactor. And the next step for them after going for Reactor is to get funded. So we thought, okay, let's start a venture capital fund. And that's how Smok started to exist.
Okay. Um, you create Reactor X with Boris, who is currently your business partner at Smok Venture. What
Yep.
did you learn from him?
Wow, a lot, I would say. Yeah, because when I joined Reactor, I was a scared person, I would say. I think the biggest change I had and what I learned is like the change of my mindset, because I think as both as a woman and as a Polish person probably, or European person, I think I was scared to do any mistakes. I was scared because what I was doing, it was not my experience. I was not experiencing that. I had I had physics knowledge, but I didn't have like startup knowledge or anything in that ecosystem. So I was scared that I would do a mistake, that I don't know enough. But Boris encouraged me to to do, and that mistakes are okay, and you don't have to be afraid of making a mistake. Just don't repeat that. So I think the change of the mindset, and that I have maybe there's always a fear of making a mistake and like making a grave one with all of the consequences. But I think I'm more open to that and more risky about my actions.
Mm-hmm. What strength did you learn about yourself?
What I learned, I think I learned that I'm more brave than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that's a good thing, because I don't think we are born a certain way. I think that we develop in a certain way. So I think when I was studying, I didn't know in what way what direction I would develop. But I've as actually right now I'm reading a book, Hard Things About by Ben Horowitz, and actually also because he was a CEO, and he also discussed the question: Are you born a CEO, or are you developed to be a CEO? And he said that you are developed to be a CEO, and if you are starting, because as a VC sometimes you have to like assess people on the spot if you think this person will achieve something, if this person will build like a global company. And at the start it's really hard to assess someone because you don't really know, and you don't really know what's going to happen with yourself, because it's hard to assess in which direction you will go.
Mm-hmm. For more than a year, you have been a partner in a Smok Venture created by Paul Bragen. Where did you get the idea for creating Polish American venture capital in Poland?
I think it started a few years ago because at first Boris get to know Paul when Boris was pitching his own startup, Filmmaster, and actually Paul was the one who introduced Boris to Ashwin Navin from Samba TV, who bought Boris's company. And then Paul also has Polish roots. So I think they were at first just sitting, and they just said, okay, we should start a fund. Like, it's a good basics, because we are here in Poland, it's developing market. There are a lot of opportunities. There is still place to create a fund right now, who in a few years, when the market will be more developed, will be one of the leaders of the market. And Paul has a lot of connections because he has a fund in US, Braga Brothers, with his brother Dan, who's also involved at Smok. And Paul has a different fund. So he has a fund in Finland, in Singapore, in Africa. So he's all around the world. So he wanted to create something in Europe, to focus on Europe. And being that also he has Polish roots, I think Poland is a great place and opportunity for him. And also, I think right now is the best time to start a fund a fund in Poland, because there are a lot of opportunities. People are more open to invest as an investor in the fund. We have more money to be more risky with what we've got. And also there are more opportunities because the government is focused to support Polish startups, Polish VCs, because I think we are at the moment of accelerating the Polish ecosystem. So we are experimenting in different ways. So there are government supported acceleration programs and venture capital funds, but I think this is like accelerating the progress of the ecosystem. And in a few years, I believe there will, because of those initiatives, there will be more money in the more private money in the ecosystem. Yeah. So this is the best time to start a fund in Poland. So that's why we thought, okay, we have the network, we have trust of the ecosystem here in Poland. We worked for that for years, and we have connections to the US where actually all of the startups want to go eventually. So we thought, okay, we have good chance to start something which will make sense for the founders, and we can be this friendly fund for founders, and actually we have something to offer them.
What startup categories are you interested in?
Mostly software and gaming. Gaming because, well, in Poland we have great developers, we have great technical people, and also it's good for young starting companies to have good examples like role models and someone who says, okay, this is achievable. And we have companies like CD Projekt Red, who is like a global sensation right now. So, you know, the companies, the gaming companies, they see, wow, there's someone who's doing that, and they're like doing that on the global scale. So we can also do that. So there are a lot of amazing gaming companies starting right now, and many, and the software, because having the connections all over the world, for us it's good to create companies who will use that, who will use those connections, and who will expand globally. And the software is, well, the easiest also thing to do that.
What is important for you when you choose your potential startup in which you want to invest in?
I would say the founder, and most of us, all of us at Smok, we would say the founder, because the founder stays with the company. So we invest in a person, and then comes the idea. Because, you know, the idea can change. The startup is looking for the product market fit, and, you know, they can pivot, they can change how it works, because the startup is also a company which is experimenting. But what's like the one core of that we want not to change is the founder team. So first of all, we focus on the people, and if we believe in them, if we believe they can build global companies.
This year, you've been invested in 5 startups where 2 of the CEO are women. Do you think women open the startups more frequently nowadays?
Yes, looking at statistics, I would say yes. There are many initiatives that also they focus on helping women to start a business, because I think the entry point for women is still a bit higher than for men. It's so less women start a business, but it's getting higher all the time. Yeah, and, you know, there are initiatives like Giger's Carrots or Women Entrepreneurship Network in Poland, and funds who also focus on helping women. There are acceleration programs focused on women. So there's a lot of, you know, help towards women, and I hope, you know, one day it won't be necessary.
Do you see a difference between startup created by men and women?
Not really, I would say. Well, you know, if you look at probably like statistically, women and men, we think in a different way. We have different abilities. But I would say, you know, if you're a good CEO, you're a good CEO. It doesn't matter what gender you are.
You have got a lot of prestige title, for example, 30 under 30 Forbes, or the last one, top female startup investor in Eastern Europe. What does this title mean to you?
I would say it's like I'm grateful for those, because sometimes it's hard for myself to assess my work and assess how well I'm doing, if my work is actually helpful for people. So I would say those titles, they mean that I'm seen, I'm noticed, and the work I think, well, the work I'm doing is noticed, and hopefully it's helpful and it's needed. So I would say that's the most important part for me.
What did working in a Smok Venture change from impossible to possible in your life?
I don't really have like a strict answer to that, because before starting Smok, I wasn't sitting and thinking, oh, what's impossible? What can I do? I'm thinking more in the ways that, okay, we want to do that. Okay, let's do that. And then I think, okay, if I don't think if it's possible, I think, how can I do that? So I think that's more my mindset of how I analyze things. But yeah, but probably, you know, a few years ago, I wouldn't say it's possible for me to start a fund. and so yeah, I think that's something unbelievable sometimes for me.
Women and under 10% of venture capital employees in Eastern Europe. Why are still more men than women?
I think it's a kind of a bias. It's easier for you to work with people you know and you know how they operate. So probably it's easier for men to hire men than women because, you know, they are in the same circles, they are in the same networks. And so I think that might be one of the biases. But you know, we are still fighting. You know, it's hard to get a job at the VC. It's easier to start your fund probably. So, and also, you know, men generally statistically earn more money, so they have more money to invest. They have more like maybe buddies, you know, who and people to invest in their funds. And you know, I think women are less risky, so there are less women investors in the funds, less women LPs, so investors in the funds. And also in our fund, we have one woman LP and 24 men. So we are working on that statistics, and I would be happy to have more women investing in the funds and more women becoming GPs, so general partners, so people managing the funds. And I think because then we would invest in more women-led companies, it will be easier for funds also to you know, to understand maybe women. Yes, I hope we're going in that direction.
Every day you get hundreds of emails of startup presentation. What are the most frequent mistakes?
Okay, because, you know, I think it's important to say that, yeah, that we have a lot of emails and it's hard to really quickly assess, because if we get hundreds emails a year, I have like a few minutes to get into the email and know if it's worth talking further, or if no, if I can see like a red flags. So I have to really quickly assess. So I would say the first thing that is important is that the email is clear, that you are saying how much money you're looking for, what actually you are doing, and why you are the right person to do that.
So short form, yeah?
Yeah, really short form and really clear to read, because, you know, if there's like 15 lines, like with no spaces, no breaks, it's hard to read also. And the presentation is also important, that it's clear, that it just has the messages, like, you know, on the market, on your idea, on the founders. So, you know, I can quickly assess, and I can quickly know that I want to talk with those people because they are doing something in my niche. And I think also one of the mistakes that the founders do, they think that if you email more and more VCs, like email all VCs, you have higher chances, maybe. But, you know, I get a lot of emails that are not directed to my fund, like the people I can, because, you know, I can see if the person is just looking for a random fund or if they want to talk with us, because, you know, they know what we are investing in, at what stage, how can we be helpful. So if I see the email and the founder is saying, okay, I want Smok to be my investor because of your network or something, it's easier for me to assess that I can be helpful to that founder. And if this is just a random email and it's not even in my niche, it's, you know, it's waste of time for the founder, you know, sending that email to me if I cannot invest, and the waste of time for me. So I would say the founders should do a research on VCs, on what we invest in, but also, you know, on our reputation, because, you know, I would say it's a two-way process. So, you know, the VC is checking the founder, checking the team, but also the founder should check the VC, what's our reputation, and talk with startups we worked with.
How has COVID-19 pandemic influenced for your business?
For the venture capital, it's not a bad time. It's not a good time for founders, unfortunately, because not all of the companies are made to go through COVID. Not all of the companies have resources to do that or change the business. They can change business models quickly. So there are many companies who failed because of the COVID. but because of that, for the VCs, is good time because the valuations are getting smaller. But it's not good to be happy because someone is in a bad situation. But for investing, yes, it's a good time. I think one of the best investments Paul made were done by him in the last recession in the US. Investing wise.
Do you believe in friendship in work?
Yes, I do. Actually, one of my best friends, my closest friends, is Agata Kwaśniewska. Agata right now is a CEO of Reactor, but at first, when I hired her to Reactor when I was leading Reactor, and at first I wasn't sure how to manage, the relationship because I hired her. I wasn't sure how should I behave, if actually we should be friends, because it might be hard to give her tasks or give her like hard feedback if we're friends, and I'm afraid to hurt her feelings too much. But I would say we both behaved professionally, but also spending so much time at work, and it's like a lot long hours, long events, doing a lot of work together. So I think it's impossible not to create like a relationship between us. So, and we have similar interests. We started doing yoga together, or jogging together. So it's all doing all different works around that. So after that, we created like good relationship. We are really close friends, and I think it's hard to go to work and not be friends with people that you spend a lot of time with.
You speak in English very well. What's helped you learning it?
One of the things is my parents invested a lot in my English classes when I was in school. So I'm really grateful to them because they saw that this is important and they cared about my progress, my development a lot. So yeah, so great parents. And the second thing is they encouraged me to go for Erasmus exchange, and I went to UK because I wanted to go somewhere where people actually speak English naturally. Also, I focus on hanging out with people who are not also Erasmus exchange people, but who are speaking English naturally. And I looked because I think the best people when you are studying, the most important, interesting people you can find in student organizations. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important as a student to to be engaged somewhere, not just studying, but be in all those organizations. So I joined Role Play Gaming Society, and actually those were the most amazing people I met on my Erasmus exchange. Also, I met a few other awesome people, at my studies, at my course, but I think I mostly enjoyed those people, in that society. And I think my English also improved a lot because of that.
Mm-hmm. Where do you see yourself for 5 years?
Starting a new fund, mm-hmm. Because funds work, we have every few years you have to have a new fund. You start a fund, it's operating for 8 years. So 4 years investing, 4 years getting out of the investments. But after 4 years of investing, getting out of the investments, it's less involving. You have more time. So it's time for you to start a new fund. So yeah, so we'll be fundraising, in a year or two, because we want to create bigger fund. It will be not only focused on Poland, but will be focused on CEE, so on a bigger region. And yeah, we want, I want more women investors, more women LPs in my fund. So that will be one of my focuses. So hopefully I will, in 5 years, have a fund which is much bigger, it's focused much wider, and I have more women LPs on board.
Diana, thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for watching my episode. Please subscribe my channel. Bye.
Yes, do that. Bye.